There are some sections of the game in each playthrough you absolutely loathe repeating, and even if they aren't that difficult, it's either a slog or just plain boring. I will go through what I believe, in my opinion, are one of the most annoying fights in Baldur's Gate 3. This can vary from single enemy boss fights, random combat encounters, ambushes, you name it. All set in no particular order except for the last one, which I believe to be the worst. Also, big spoilers by the way. Early in the list, while also early in the game, the Act 1 Mud Mephit encounter. The group of oiled up enemies you encounter when doing Kaga's questline. This fight, while technically not that hard, can still be brutal if not prepared correctly. Especially in Honor mode. Not getting rid of the ancient Mud Mephits fast will result your screen looking like Diddy's closet. Continuous spawns will drag the fight out, and your party members will be covered in the mud status effect. Difficult terrain is therefore a real pain, and any attempt at this fight before level 4 will make this encounter less smooth than one would like it to be. Also, a player party without Gale or Mage Taff and relying on Shadowheart's Ignis will feel like absolute shit to get through sometimes. Rewards for this fight is some decent XP, however outside of that and the progression of Kaga's questline, not much else is given. Balthazar in the Nightsong's realm. I know most probably beat Balthazar inside the Gauntlet of Shar, or attempt to push him off the ledge in the Nightsong's realm. These are all fine methods and nothing wrong with that, after all it is D&D. But sometimes you just feel like having a final showdown with Balthazar in the Nightsong's realm, spitting in his face, then engage in combat where he summons a small number of 500 undead warriors. Considering initiatives, Balthazar will most often than not get the first shot in on your party with a nasty cloud kill. Then keep spamming it while you painfully try to navigate Gale out of danger. Your party members' turns will be spent repositioning, and combat-wise, this fight isn't that hard. Most probably you will have Shadowheart in your party, and any form of radiant damage will destroy Balthazar and his skeletons. The pain in this fight is just the early turns and the cloud kill spam and the sleep spamming on your huddled up group at the start. And of course, after all your party's turns, you have to wait through the entire armada of skeletons to do their turn. And by the way, this criticism will be a recurring factor making this list. Be ready. The Baanite Explosive Toymaker hideout in the lower city. Part of the Investigate the Toymakers questline. This combat encounter itself is only annoying. Not by its difficulty, but the sheer pain of having to fight on a 3-story building with the jankiness of the camera. For some reason it also seems the AI takes a bit longer to do their turns here, because of the fact that the combat area is split into 3 floors. To be honest, sounds cool, until you realize you have to run between the floors and get hit with the ice storms and cloud kills on the tiny stairways. There were some other issues too, like the fact that the Flaming Fist guards outside would join the Baanites, dragging this fight out even longer and having to run down to the first floor again. But this didn't happen when recording this fight, because I think it's been patched out, which is nice. Either way, cool setup for a combat encounter, and a fun storyline. Viconia and the Shar Acolytes. This fight becomes extremely trivial depending on 2 different choices you made throughout your playthrough. 1 is picking Devil's Sight, or 2 taking Shadowheart's edgy path by killing the Nightsong, which then turns the entire fight into a civil war. This fight convinced me to start the entire new playthrough to purely cheese everything with Devil's Sight and Darkness spam. If you are prepared enough and have Daylight or Devil's Sight, you are still heavily outnumbered, and the initiative roll, the initiative rolls are important here. If you are unlucky, 1 or 2 companions are probably downed or death's door when it's finally their turn. Even if you counter the darkness with effective Daylight cast, the necrotic spells are still a pain, and of course, they just cast more darkness. I know the whole encounter is set up as an obvious ambush, which the player should expect and try to talk through, but it can still be extremely tedious when just a few factors don't go in your favor. Orpheus's Honor Guard. Pretty sure most of you expected for this to be on the list. These absolute monsters of monks can curb stomp you so fast before you can say, is monk class actually this strong? Their high dexterity, initiative rolls, and the fact that they can seemingly attack endlessly while simultaneously dodging all of your attacks. It just feels somewhat unfair if you're not the most experienced player. Of course you are given the Emperor as an AI ally, but him missing his Mind Blast or Dominate over and over makes you reconsider your alliance and tell yourself Orpheus ending it is this time too. I think I can speak to everyone when I say this fight was one of the hardest fights for everyone in their first playthrough. It works great as a proving ground for your build, to see if you're ready for the more difficult enemies in Act 3, but also testing your knowledge of the game's combat mechanics, and see if you didn't just holy smite your way through Act 1 and Act 2. And now the last combat encounter. Up to this point, none of the previously mentioned fights were rated in any particular order, but this one, I myself rate as an objective number 1 most annoying fight in Baldur's Gate 3. It is the Harpy fight in Act 1. This fight, which you encounter at level 2 99% of the time, is such a painstaking slope to get through every time. And of course you will tell yourself the XP is worth it for the early level up, and doing it now will make it easier for your party. But man, do I feel dread when I hear that music every time I'm in the Grove on a new playthrough. These harlots have an unlimited cast of DC 13 luring charms, a multi-attack, you can't surprise them, dogshit water terrain, and of course an NPC you have to protect constantly. This fight makes me really question my sympathy for thiefling kids sometimes. You can of course cast Sanctuary on the child, or just basically do what I did by throwing the rat away from the harpies. Either way, tough fight, but not in a good way. So what do you think? Agree with the list? What do you think should be number 1? Tell me in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay tuned.